We will open this public portion with the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We don't have the last couple of meetings, we still had them in our packet, so it's an easy crown for first order of business is to accept the CPSC reports that we reviewed in executive session. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Josh.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes of our regular meeting, March 16th. The only thing I noticed was a misspell at the top of page 5, fourth line down. Mr. Amon's last name has a extraneous E.
Thank you.
That's distinguished, I thought.
Sorry,
That's what I was
Wayne.
going with. Appreciate that.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Thanks, Ray. Is there a second? Thanks, Kate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I guess a meeting as well, the capital project vote on the 21st. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Nate. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Josh. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
What is the total number of eligible voters we have?
Great question.
I send out 2,400 newsletters, so that's just households. Doesn't say how many actual people are in the household that can vote.
So
I mean, right,
About 10% of households?
yeah, 15, yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Next up are the treasurer's reports. As of March 31. The motion to approve books. Thanks, Ray. Second?
Second.
Me. Kate's gonna second everything. I am. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And there's a lot to vote on tonight. There's considerations and stuff.
I'm
so it's
ready.
good.
I am.
You're ready.
You got it? Okay.
Love it. Next are the appropriation transfers.
I'll make a motion that it's easy.
Thanks, Josh. Is there a second?
Just let me down there. I'd like a second, please.
Got it.
She's good for that t-shirt now. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And we skipped to bundle these, so we're to the warrants. First is general fund 34. What is Phoenix Graphics on page 9?
They print our ballots.
Okay,
So those are the ballots for the capital project.
thank you.
17, there's a hefty charge to, or check to Whitmore Fence Company. What did we fence?
Is it transportation? So the
Yeah,
bus
yeah,
garage
it's the route.
fence was damaged.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of damage.
It was.
Yeah, it's chain link fence, right?
Well, it's a chain link gate
It's
that got hit when
Okay.
we were following.
Oh, bummer.
We did it.
Self-inflicted.
We didn't respond. I wasn't driving it. Yeah.
Page 5, we got a good sized charge for electricity. Realizing that our field does not produce as much
Yeah.
the first quarter of the year.
Right. And it's also reflected, I think, well, maybe Chris should talk instead of me, but it's the way we're being billed now is kind of wanky in that they used to credit us first and then give us a bill. They've separated that out and we're trying to get it back the way it's supposed to be. It's a change on their end that.
We've been working with TST BOCES and Constellation and NICEAG, the two building companies, to get that back together. But yes, it is a different, so and the first quarter of the year is higher.
Right.
But also we're seeing bills that are not having the NICEAG credits applied, so we're working on getting that corrected.
Yeah, because if we pay a bill before there's a credit applied, they're using our money for nothing
Correct.
Exactly.
and making interest on it.
So TST BOCES is, who monitors our billing with us, is helping us
Okay.
try to reconcile that.
The cost of energy's gone up. Has our credit, so our credit stayed here and the cost has gone up, so we're gonna have a delta anyway.
No, I don't know that we will.
Well, the amount of energy we can make is finite.
Right.
Oh, but I guess
I
we can
understand
sell
what
those
you're saying,
credits.
So they,
Sell those
so
credits
have they
at-
increased our reimbursements
Yes.
in the same proportion as they've increased our costs, our bill? I don't know that, but we'll look at it. I think you're right. And again, the increase is reflective of higher costs and the first quarter, but also it's aggravated by the fact that they didn't give us the credit before they billed us. So we gotta fix it.
So there'll be some credit back
There will
from
be
this,
some.
but that
There'll be
amount will be
credit
lower.
back, right,
Yeah.
but this is where we are right now. Until we resolve it.
Well, NICEAG's a foreign-owned entity, so it's nice.
So they should be easy deal with it. There, I guess.
All right, were there any other questions on the general fund? We'll go to federal funds, number 12. School lunch fund, number 10. Is there a motion to approve the whole bundle? Thanks, Nate. A second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Recognition of visitors. Hi, visitors.
Sure. Evening, everyone. Greg Hauk, former student here at Candor, former staff member as well, and current candidate for Board of Education.
Welcome.
Jessica Spaccio, co-president of the Candor PTSA. I was gonna go over some of our events. Do you want me to do that now or should I wait till the end?
Let's do it now. There's probably more people tuned in.
Okay. So just a recap of what we've done. Last month, we had Dan the Snake Man here in the elementary school last month. That was very well attended. We had crafts and everyone who came seemed to really enjoy that. It was a good night. We had some fundraisers. We had our cheesecake sales, which we did very well on. We had Doug's Fish Fry and the big sale up front. And then we had musical bingo at Punks, which went pretty well too. Upcoming, we've got quite a few things going on next week. We have our monthly meeting is next Tuesday, April 25th at 6:30 here in the library. And we will have a remote option as well. And then we have another musical bingo at Punks again on Wednesday. This month's theme is country music. So that's at Punks from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And then Saturday is the Daffodil Festival at the ball field, all day, 10 to 5. There's going to be a kids section, and the PTSA is going to be set up there with the booth. I have brochures if anyone wants them before I go. That'll be a great day. Let's see. Oh, for the cheesecakes, the top selling grades are getting an ice cream party. So that's going to be on Friday, May 5th, the last hour of school that day. The kids get a big ice cream party in the multi-purpose room in the cafeteria. And then we have a couple dances coming up. The 7th and 8th graders have a dance on Saturday, May 6th at 7. And then on May 20th, the 5th and 6th grade dance has their spring break dance.
Very exciting. I hope you have some support. It's not just you.
Oh, no, there's good support.
Excellent, excellent. There'll be another opportunity at the end. If you want to ask any questions after you've seen the rest or
Whatever.
So we do have a bunch of considerations this month. First up is the statement of expenditures, so the budget for 23-24. We do have to do percentage.
Yes.
Oh wait, we do a motion first on
Yeah,
that.
motion and going down.
Is there a motion to approve the budget as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Josh. Is there a second? Kate's on it. There's a second. So, Mr. Dome, we have to vote one by one to the budget.
Okay. I vote yay.
Yes.
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 Excellent. Thank you for all your hard work, everybody over there and many more people beside. So property tax report card, since the state's required,
You see the new
illegibly small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the property tax report card, the new version we got tonight? Thanks, Nate. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Brent. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So then we have board petitions and ballot placement. So Nate and Greg are running unopposed. Because it works out, but Nate, you get top billing. And thank you both for running. Is there a motion to approve the board petition and ballot placement? Thanks, Ray. Second? It's Kate. All those in favor? Aye. Bus purchase proposition.
This is what appears on the budget ballot, right?
And hopefully, if this passes, hopefully we get these before,
Yeah.
diesel buses are outlawed. Is there a motion to approve the proposition?
Start throwing buses.
Yeah.
I'll make
Thanks, Nate. Is there a second? It's Brent, all those in favor?
Aye.
last consideration, the Canterbury Library placement, or their petition, or their ballot item, I guess would be, yeah.
So as discussed in our budget meetings, this is an increase of 17,000 above and beyond what we had written in before as a more or less a line item. So the library will get 35,000, even though this will not appear unless there's another increment on the budget. It won't appear on the budget unless there's another increment. Right, okay. That's what I thought. Done.
And then the intent is going forward, it will be the 35 every year,
Yeah.
until they ask for something.
Unless they ask for more.
So I will move.
Thanks, Brad. Is there a second? Thanks, Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And Greg, just for your knowledge, all those that we just voted on separately, typically we don't have to do all that. Typically, we just do what's coming up next, which is the consent agenda, where we take all of the appointments and resignations and changes and this and that's and roll them into one vote, so that we don't have to get 27 motions. But the budget is special and the ballot is special, so we have to do those individually. Okay, so now we're to the consent agenda. Is there any item that needs to be pulled out for separate consideration? And are there any questions on any items in the consent agenda?
So we are submitting a grant to Hooker, or we're applying for a grant to Hooker, which will give us 10 additional AEDs.
Yes.
So every athletic site that we host will have its own
Yeah.
AED.
So we have them now, but they're not all where we want them,
Right.
and so, right.
Sounds like a good move.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thanks, Kate. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ray. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I just want to make a qualifying or clarifying statement on Mr. Sotheby's salary increase for next year. So it is not an indicator of a lack of buy-in or a lack of confidence on the part of the DOE. On the contrary, we're very pleased with your work and the way in which you're doing the work. And the modest adjustment is really an act of leadership and a recognition of what it means to be in a fiscally conservative district and a good steward of the taxpayers' money. So the TLDR on that is keep up the good work and thank you. Now, somebody else gets to talk and that's way more fun. Mr. Raymond, you're up.
I wanted to share, I don't know if you had a chance to look through it, but I wanted to share some data last year for the Regents exams and the grade 7 proficiency exam. And I did get this a few months ago. I haven't shared it yet, but I apologize for that. But I did want you to get a chance to look through it. A couple of things I wanted to talk about that stand out. Good news is for the Regents exams, we are usually at or above the New York State proficiency range in most of the Regents exams, and comparable to similar school districts in the BOCES regions. One area that I think we really can improve upon, if you look at proficiency 65 and above, but we're not really reaching that mastery level that we want in percentage-wise. So I really that's an area of opportunity. We really want these kids not just reaching proficiency, but exceeding proficiency. So that's one of the things we're going to focus on. As you look through it, I was talking about particularly our scores and with one of the instructional leaders up at BOCES. And, you know, she said something that heard from someone else at one point, that all data tells a story. And it's really interesting when I look through here and I see our proficiency scores, I can think of, okay, I know why this percentage is here, or I think I understand why this one's higher than the other schools, or this one's a little lower than where I'd like. But at the end of the day, the data's the data. The scores are the scores, and we need to keep improving on that. One of the things that Brent has been pushing with me, and we've had some good discussions about this, but I say comparable districts or similar districts. Brent's like, we are no longer trying to meet or exceed comparable districts. We want to meet or exceed the best districts. That's what we're striving for. And that's, I'll be honest, I told them, hey, you can look at the socioeconomic, because the richest schools have the highest scores. I've seen it. That's an excuse mindset. We're not taking that. We are going to strive to be the equivalent of the best schools. And we're working on that. And I'll just go on to the grade 7 and 8 exam scores. We're below the state average. That's typical for us. But again, we're similar to comparable schools in the TSD region. We can say, okay, but we're where typical schools are of our socioeconomic, but that's again, an excuse mindset. We need to put interventions in place to help our students achieve academically. And I really think this past year, this multi-tiered systems of support that were the tiered approach, tiered interventions that we're putting in systematically elementary to the high school is a step in the right direction. That's something we're trying to do to help our students get to that next level. And I think more about Brent and my conversations, and I think I don't know, for some reason I always put everything back to sports. I don't know why, but and I think about the best programs that I've seen. Haggerty at Tioga, 27 winning seasons in a row. Pam Quinlan here at Candor. Their programs, they have a system in place from the youngest level all the way to their senior year. And that's why those programs are successful year after year after year. We are working on that. And I think that's the best approach we can have to help our kids be successful. That's something that Brent's really pushing. That's something Kim's working hard on. We have curriculum councils meeting now. Like I say, we're fine tuning this multi-tiered system of support to try to give that tiered intervention for the kids. The academic accountability plan. Kids are failing one, they can't play. I mean, these are all things we're doing to really try to help our kids get to that next level. All right. I think it was Lou Holtz that said, to be mediocre, you're the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. You don't want to be either. You want to be the best. So that's what we're working on, and that's why we're putting these interventions in and we're making these changes to get to that next level. So I just wanted to share that data with you. Again, all the data tells a story. If you ever want to sit down, I can go through each test and tell you why I think this one's a little higher, this one's a little lower, but at the end of the day, the data is the data. It is what it is. And we need to have a program like a Tioga Central. They, in football, years ago, when Haggerty was there, they didn't have a losing season. How do they do that? Small school like that. Look at Pam in volleyball. They're always good. It's just a matter of how good. But we always want to be good. Just some years, great. And hopefully more years great and good. So that's my mindset taking place. I give Brent a lot of credit for that. He's been working on, getting me to shift my philosophy. And I think we're taking a lot of steps in the right direction. So I want to share that. The next item I have is an advisory period. We want to, again, this is to support kids academically and socially, emotionally. The kids are going through a lot right now. I'm seeing a lot more socially emotional issues with kids than I've ever seen this year. And it's not just Candor, it's everywhere. So what are we gonna do to help support these kids? Academically, you know, Wayne Eamon's kids, they do pretty good in school. I don't know why. I've met their dad, but they do pretty good in school. But I do know this. At home, each night we sit at the dinner table and I ask them, how was school today? How are your classes going? You know, what do you do? Are you getting your work done? We have those conversations. I know a lot of kids don't have that when they get home. I don't know if they've ever sat at a dinner table. I can't believe it, but that is not atypical anymore for kids not to meet or talk to their parents during the day. So what we want to do is we're going to take 10 minutes, and the real challenge with this crew, this was a challenge. It's kind of the same philosophy as crew, but it's going to be every day. It's going to be 10 minutes each day. And it's just a time to have a moment that they can check in with an adult, small group of kids, check in with an adult that cares about them, gets to know them. They can ask them, how are you doing? What's going on in school? What are you struggling with? Or if they're having social emotional issues, they have someone they have a relationship with that they can talk to. So we're building that in, and we're not taking any time out of the instructional day. Pete was really gracious. We're pushing back the elementary dismissal 5 minutes. Transportation's been great. They're making it fit in, so we're adding 5 minutes at the end of the day, and I'm getting rid of homeroom like I did when we got back from COVID. I got rid of homerooms then when I had crew in. We're doing that again. So we're fitting in 10 minutes, not missing any instructional time. And this should be an opportunity. We're hoping this is an opportunity for a caring adult in the building to meet with a handful of kids, 6 to 8 students, and build a relationship and be there and be that support for them to help them find academic and social and emotional success. I have a team of teachers that are meeting to discuss what do these logistics look like? What's the best way to make this work in our schedule in the building? We've met once, we've had a lot of good ideas. We're gonna meet a couple more times, so we'll have this ready to go. And we'll let the teachers all know what the goals and the expectations are prior to the school year. We'll be ready to go day one next year. So.
It's a really big logistical hurdle to have groups that small. It's gonna be really, really all hands on deck, right?
Yeah, we did that with crew, where they only had groups of about 8 kids. Every adult has kids. I mean, we have adults, every teacher has students that are meeting with them. What killed us when we implemented crew, what really, is we had so many teachers going out with COVID that, if all the teachers were there, it would have been great. But we didn't have a plan for 6 or 8 teachers are out. The subs don't know what they're supposed to be doing in crew. So it really just fell apart. It became more challenging than it should have been. But I think, now that that's behind us for the most part, and we're gonna have this advisory group it's 10 minutes. We're not gonna be necessarily teaching lessons, although we could. If there's some crisis that hits and we need some kids to go someplace to talk to a caring adult that they know and they have a relationship with, we can do that just like that. Just say, go to your advisory groups and have a conversation with the kids. So, but yeah, it's not easy, but we're doing it, and the teachers are on board with it. They were the ones that really wanted the crew program, and now advisory it's right around the same. It's the same philosophy, a little different structure. It is daily. I like that. And
Is it a mix of grade levels like crew was, or is it all?
We're talking about that. Again, that's, and I have a vision of what I'd like it to look like. Kim probably does, Brett probably does. And there are some non-negotiables that we're gonna say to the teachers, but we also, to get teachers to buy into something, you gotta give them some ownership. So I want them to have a say, and they've come up with some really good ideas. Our first meeting, there's some things that they brought up, like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good thought. So, yeah, that's where we're at with it. It's, I think it's a good plan. I think it's gonna support our students well, and I'll keep you posted on how it goes.
I wanted to backtrack to the AAP. Are you are you tracking data on that, on how many people were failing X number of classes before that? And if there's been behavior change based on
Yeah, well,
taking things away or, you know?
the answer is yes. I mean, it's the same, data that we use for the tier 2 and tier 3, so it's all kind of aligned in the same. I can tell you this, the athletes come off it a lot quicker than the non-athletes. They do. They want to play. So it has a great influence and impact on the students. Yes.
And how are the other thing I put down before, how are those non-study halls going, where the study hall is actually like a more,
Learning labs?
yeah, that's it.
Learning labs they're going well. Talking to the teachers, I think they say they're being productive. In our next grade level meetings that I'm having, which is coming up here in a week, I want to talk to them about next year. And I want to say, okay, we started it this year. What can we think about to improve them? What are the steps we need to take to make them even more effective? And we'll have that conversation. So the teachers are on board with it. Can I be critical and say there's some things that I think we could be doing better or should be doing better? Yeah. But I think overall, is it a step in the right direction? Yeah, we're going in the right direction. It's definitely more effective and more productive than the study halls were. It definitely is.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Excellent, thank you. No Pete tonight, but we have his report. Matt, you're up.
So, security. It's all about security these days. I went to a conference in Albany that was put on by RIC1, which is all of the RICs, Regional Information Centers around the state, collaborated to put on a cybersecurity conference. And it was illuminating. Representatives from the FBI, New York State Cybersecurity Task Force were there. And it's fascinating to see how developed the bad actors have gotten there. It's a whole industry. And just a quick story is when cyber attack happens, it's very compartmentalized. It's almost its own economy where one group will purchase the software to do ransomware from another company that actually develops it or another group that develops it. And then that person that wants to attack somebody, they purchase access from a group that focuses only on trying to get into healthcare industry. And all they do is try to get into the network, establish themselves, and then they sell that access to somebody that wants to use the ransomware. And the people that are using the ransomware will, if they come across a problem, they will call tech support for the ransomware software company or group, and they will walk them through how to fix the problem with their ransomware. And so it's gotten very, it was amazing. So, and the attacks on schools have not slowed down at all with TST, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But it was great to talk to other, tech directors around the state and in our region, small and large, and get some ideas about some easy things that we can do that continue to sort of bolster our profile in terms of strengthening our network. Again, going back to the way that Mike has set up our network, we are a couple of steps ahead of many districts who are trying to get away from Active Directories and things that we have already moved away from. So we are in a pretty good place there, but there's always things that we can do to make things better. So these were all just some ideas that I've come back with that we'll be working through for the rest of this year, including, finishing the rollout of multi-factor authentication for the rest of the staff, so custodians and cafeteria workers and everyone else. Teachers and administrators are already fully sort of protected with multi-factor on our Google accounts. Some free services through the Department of Homeland Security for network security, reducing some inventory on Windows machines because they tend to be the machines that are most easily compromised. And then I talked to Brent when I got back about running a tabletop exercise, which I'll reference on my third point when I get down to that. But back to the regional sort of things that are happening. TST, that Sunday after the conference, TST had a ransomware attack, and it shut down TST's whole operation. And just as of last week, Dan Parker was updating everybody in the region about what was happening. And he said, yeah, we've been going back and forth with the people that have our data, and they wanted X amount of dollars, and they're probably not going to pay. The FBI says don't pay. There's no reason to pay because they have your data, and there's no guarantee that they won't just use it anyway. But they said the FBI wanted them to negotiate to see if they could get the Bitcoin hash. So these ransomware companies say, we want $100,000 and we'll give you the key back to your network so you can unlock everything. And the FBI, they'll say, we want $100,000, but you have to send it in Bitcoin, which is untraceable. So that's how they kind of get around the money laundering piece. So the FBI wanted them to negotiate so that they could get that Bitcoin hash and try and stop that from that bad actor. And Dan said that they went back with an offer that was less than what they were demanding. And the response back was, I took this to our management and they said that wasn't acceptable. So, you know, it's become, I don't know, it's just crazy. So they are still working through it. They were able to, fortunately they had the last week off, so they were able to restore a lot, and their cyber insurance experience has been illuminating. Chris and I sat down and looked at our cyber insurance policy, and the tabletop exercise, I think, will help us to really, if anything were to happen, allow us to be ready in case, you know, so we're not scrambling to try and figure out, well, who's our insurance policy and who do we have to call? So we just have all of that laid out. And then on Wednesday, so TST was hit on Sunday, they were dealing with all of that. Wednesday afternoon, about 2 o'clock, our network went down, and I had a little heart attack because it was an internal problem. It wasn't just the spectrum was down. And Mike and I spent quite a bit of time trying to troubleshoot it, and we didn't know how bad it was. We had to have somebody from Infinite Technologies come down from Syracuse to help us diagnose it the next day, on Thursday. And it turned out it was something innocuous that caused the outage. But it was a really good trial run to figure out how we're going to survive if the network is down. So we got hotspots out to locations for teachers, we got copiers running, we just got everything so that people could work, even if they couldn't work as well as they may have wanted to. Teachers knew when they left that they probably went to work with paper, and it was going to be limited access. But by noon the next day, we were back up and running, and everything was great. So it was a little heart attack, but it taught us a lot, and it was the best tabletop exercise we could have had, because it was a very minor disruption, but we learned a lot. So it's been an interesting one.
Thank you.
Maybe next month you can just go back to the trouble ticker.
Right.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
Wayne needed help again.
So no copy tonight. We have her report. I'm up again.
All right. So once again this month, I just outlined the district priorities. I received some feedback from some of the admin that said they liked seeing it outlined and the tasks and activities that we are doing each month to address each of them. So I'll just try to give a summary for each, but the first district priority of using data to drive instructional decisions and practices. I think the admin team that we're trying to model and use a process wherever we can with any groups that we can. One example was just within our team to identify professional development opportunities. And we really did come at it we collected the data first. We sat down and talked about what all the options were and then to create a priority list. Wayne is meeting with the 7th grade data team, looking at that failing 2 or more list. We in the special ed department, we have the targeted skills group coming in from Syracuse, working with the 4 special class reading classes. And again, bringing in at least 8 teachers piloting, looking at data, progress monitoring, creating an action plan, setting the goal, coming back, did students reach their goal? And then curriculum councils, I don't have the bullet on there, but I did add it tonight because we just had our second meeting earlier this evening with each of the 4 core councils. And that was one of the biggest takeaways for me, going and meeting with each group. They're considering what's the data that they have. How do they know? So for one example, the Social Studies Council, one of their goals for the next month is they're creating an audit of one of the social studies practices. Wayne was the admin at that team, but they're collecting data. They need to know from all of the grade levels for this particular domain and this practice or these practices and its cause and effect and the work behind that with students. Where do you use that at your grade level? So before they can make a decision on what their next step is as a council, what do we need to do? How do we look at the curriculum? Do we need to align it? Do we need to teach, have our teachers understand the social studies framework better? They're collecting data. So that's just another example of how we're trying to embed the use throughout the district. The next 2 initiatives really go together, but they are broken out. The first one is literacy instruction across all content areas, with the idea that we all teach students how to read. We have to support that. And specifically vocabulary and comprehension. That's an area that historically our kids struggle with. You guys have heard me say that for quite a few years now. And things that we're doing to support that area of literacy. One, we do have a representative from the Reading League, which Brett worked with in his previous positions in the Syracuse area, and that's where they're based out of. But we have a rep coming in to meet with our admin team to do an overview on the 30th of May, just to talk through more about what can we do as a school district to really look at our core instruction and in literacy. And what things are we already doing? And what could we do differently or better? And the other with vocab and comprehension, again, another highlight from the Science Council earlier tonight. That's an area that came up again. There's language in the state level assessments, the level of rigor and the level of vocabulary. We know it's above our students, and we see that on our state assessments. So the goal for the Science Council is they want to get together and talk with the grades below and say, okay, here are those tier 2 words, the words like variable. So evidence. So it's not specific to a content, but they see it everywhere. Those are the words our kids struggle with, right up through the grades. So they're talking about what can we do to support that better? And core instruction and tiered interventions. I highlighted the curriculum councils. That was before we met tonight. So the goals that are written on my report those were goals they set last month. So they're using a data-wise process in their own councils to look at the data, set a goal, create an action plan, come back to it. And, you know, their new goals, I just shared social studies and science, ELA, the high school started tonight working on aligning vertically or prioritizing their ELA standards. And math is, the conversation is around the elementary for next year is, which you guys hopefully remember, but Pete has talked about Eureka Squared is the math program that they'll be using next year. The conversation with 7th and 8th grade math teachers tonight, they want to know more because they look at it online and they want to hear more about it. So, by the way, we'll be talking to you, high school principal, about 7th and 8th grade. So again, those, they're big conversations about core instruction across the district, having that vertical alignment, and going back to Wayne, I loved your analogy, great, a program, and that's what we need to have. And I couldn't be more proud of the teachers tonight. It feels like it's a long time coming, and I'm excited, I'm happy. We have really, really good teachers here. We have great teachers here. And they're great professionals, they're good thinkers, they want to do the best work possible. And bringing them together tonight was, and the ongoing work. And they're inviting more teachers next month. That was, 2 of the groups has already said, are we allowed to invite the rest of the grade level reps and bring them in? Yep, yes, please. So anyway, yeah, that's exciting. And the multi-tiered system of support, Wayne already talked about that. And the only thing I would add is when, in both buildings, maybe a little bit more over here because it is newer, but talking about that tier 3 intervention. What does tier 3 intervention look like 7-12? Like, we have a model at the elementary school, but you know, what is that next step to get the kids that they're not classified necessarily, they're not receiving special ed support, but it's not just that they aren't it's not just getting the work done in their core classes. There might be some real gaps in whether it's reading, writing, math, you know, what can we do that's really specific to help them? And then the last was maintaining a safe and supportive environment and encouraging a positive culture. That I've listed out, you know, different professional development, different things that we'll be doing. But what I want to, I guess, end with is back to the very first item about using data to drive instructional decisions and practices, and how we as a team use that to identify professional development for the summer. And we have Super Kids for the reading program at the elementary school. We have a training day that's already scheduled. Pete has set that up, as well as Eureka Squared for the new math program. We have a responsive classroom middle school model, a joint venture, I would say, with Pete and Wayne. So getting the 5-8 team and having teacher reps go to that to bring that back to hopefully help support some of the social emotional needs that our students have. Therapeutic crisis intervention for schools. The training isn't just for the faculty, but there's going to be a second session for the drivers and the teachers' aides. And on top of that, we're still planning to do at least 2 days of district-led professional development, which if any of the council members are listening to the meeting right now, I will be talking to you about possibly leading a couple of those sessions in the content areas. So, but it also is very rewarding to see that what we're doing, it's planned, it's focused, and it's aligned to what we've at least identified currently as what our needs are.
That was all wonderful to hear. I love all the data gathering, and that it sounds like you're really getting buy-in all the way down the line. That's huge to really affect change. Excellent.
I think it's just about asking really good questions. Digging deeper, that's it.
Thank you. And now, we're up to Chris.
Yes. So we spent some time before the meeting talking about budget, so thank you for moving that forward. We'll have our public hearing on the 9th and more information for anyone out there. And then our vote, 16th of May. So like I said, looking forward to moving through all of those steps with the budget. We're getting pretty favorable rates on our money, so we have as much as possible within that class investment pool right now, and that's about 4.49% that we've been earning. So, just a great opportunity for us to keep as much there as we can to keep earning that interest as long as it's available for us. So great opportunities. Both there and even at our local bank, our Tioga State Bank, they've got a municipal pool of FDIC insured fund that is earning 3%. So even at our local level bank, we just have great opportunity for interest right now. Business office has been really busy. On top of, just kind of learning from each other all year and kind of spending some time in different processes. We've been building documentation and creating process for our purchasing systems. And, along with our OSC audit corrective action plans, there was some requirements for some written documentation. We've been working through those for our payroll processes. And as we've been creating that written documentation, it's really given us an opportunity to kind of tear apart the process and kind of look at all the different layers of it. We're going to be using our Envision software, using a number of components of it that we have access to, but we could use more efficiently. So we're going to be doing some training to get our purchasing process more automated. So we'll be training. I had hoped that was happening this week, but May 9th, we'll be training the requisition entry at the clerical level. So each building and department will be entering requisitions into Envision. They'll create some workflows and we'll be approving those and electronically to create those purchase orders. There's an opportunity for us to use the system as a repository for the backup documentation for requisitions and, kind of have that all in one place. We'll be bringing some some purchasing processes to you to the May meeting. Some things that we want to make sure that we're documenting and implementing processes as we go. And payroll, the same. We've been working with CityRec to train us in better ways to use the software that we have and different components and modules that tie to payroll. Some of the systems that we use is at ASAP, where our substitute system has exports that we can bring into our Envision system. We're going to be updating our time clocks, which will connect to our system and provide reports that aren't available now because they're separate from the system and that information is entered manually for payroll. So we're really kind of excited about that and all that's going on there.
Excellent. Thank you. And we have Mike's report. He didn't mention well, I guess the mini heart attack could be in next month. Yeah.
That was your heart attack, not his.
Yeah, but no,
I assume it was a shared heart
Yes,
attack
it
to a
was.
certain extent.
and he's been having some knee problem, and so I felt really bad because so I was trying to do double, I got a lot of steps in that day, because his knee was bothering, so he's slowly moving around, and I'm trying to run from, shutting down network closets and things. So yes, it should be next week.
And Brent, we're up to you.
Okay. luckiest superintendent in the world, I'm sure. So, thank you. We had the last budget committee meeting and that went, and Chris covered it so well. I don't really need to say anything more about that. The capital projects, so I guess we could say we kind of have three of them going in that we have the 100K project to fix the auditorium stairs. I did talk with Boland this week to remind them that although it needs to be done, and they were well aware, by the end of June, we need it done before then, just in case it rains, so we can use it for our graduation. So I'm excited to start seeing some work out there now it's spring. I was reminded that we said when we originally talked about they'd start May and be done before the end of June. So that they haven't started yet, I guess is okay, because the weather's been pretty nice. You can get here. That's coming along, and then the large project, again, we're still in the drawing, funding job, signing contract stage, but everything's right on track with getting the roofs and the track done, and rather little most of that project. Then the third, we identified that we needed some work done with the elementary septic system, and we'll be able to get that done the following year as we get reimbursed for the stairs. That will go into that. So again, everything's good there. Something not as big ticket item, but I'm excited about it. Through a partnership grant with Tioga County Health, to increase community health, specifically for schools in partnerships with their community. We have a number of things going on, from the bottle fillers to a 1 mile path that goes along our property, well, on our property along the creek, but then back out to the street at Griffin Street and then down to Bank Street and around Main Street. It's exactly a mile going through Moyer Park. So we'll get that started. The signage, there's not much cost to doing that. It was just more of an agreement with the village mayor and the village board. We'll get that started, and I think we'll get a lot of use out of it, not only from our students who could use it to run and stay in shape, whether they run for our cross-country team or not, but even faculty and staff having time at their lunch to do a quick mile and having it all marked out and cleared for them. So I'm excited about it. I think it will be a good thing for the community. I want to thank again Connie Horchak, who made me first aware of the grant and then worked with us to get it up and running, and has been very supportive. Any questions?
Is there a surface to the trail, or is it just the
No,
same grass?
no, it's just gonna be the grass trail, like like a cross-country trail. There's only a little bit of work that we would need to do. The village owns part of the fence where we want to put in a gate. Right now, people go around it all the time, but it would just make it an easier path and something that you could bring a stroller on if you want to make it that wide. It's a matter of having it marked. And the signage that we were going to put up was just quarter-mile markers. Once they're in place, it'd be quarter miles, and then at the end, another tenth. So if someone, whether it was a school or just someone that would also bring business to town, it could be the Heart Association or Childhood Juvenile Diabetes, could do a 5K run here, and it'd be real easy. It's just 3 laps and a little bit more, and we're there.
And then I have one other question on the big capital project.
What did I say? I'm sorry, they had a question for me too. I thought I misspoke and they were laughing at me.
No, not at all.
That happens.
Will the facilities committee get a look at the documents at some point? I don't know what's the appropriate, there's people who do that every day, so they might be able to find some useful things in
I would love to look at. So the structural drawings and all of that, yes. When I have all of them, they're being drawn up now, but before we say, yep, we're good, I'd love to get the facilities committee together, or as many as we can, to go through it. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Did you get any concern about getting the stairs done in time for graduation, or you think they're on board to support
I
that?
don't, it's just the weather got nice and I didn't see movement is why I called and asked.
So we have board comments. I just have two quick kudos. The play was wonderful. The Putnam County Spelling Bee was super fun. And then Pete's not here, but the Taylor Masters organized the fifth and sixth graders singing at the hockey game. I think the whole town was there. There were so many Candor people that went down for it. It was really nice to see. Yeah. So those are my two quick kudos. And back to our guests. Any additional questions, comments, concerns?
Just taking it all in.
Fair.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
So the trail, this sounds really exciting. When does that, is there a completion estimated for that?
Well, like you said, we're not resurfacing the trail or anything, so when they come in to start working on the track and we can have people here, or maybe our crew could do it, to open up that fence and then get the signage. That's about all there is to it. We're talking about, continually improving it. If we can, and I'd love to work with maybe the local Boy Scouts to clean up that riverbank a little bit. We've already talked to DEC about what we can do and what we can't do. And basically, we can take anything out there that's not growing or isn't, there's some plants you can still take out. But things like that will start happening this spring. And then it's a matter of continuous improvement. But there's a little map of it. And as soon as we open it up and put some signage up, people can start using it.
So, I don't know if anyone knows here, I've heard other places doing like, a prom dress closet. Does Cornell already have, or does Candor already have something like that here? They do, okay.
We're actually talking about maybe during the lunch, doing batching. Some kids just, so kids can see. Yeah, I was gonna.
Maybe that we can help advertise that with some of the parents.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're gonna have a dance for fifth and sixth, right?
yeah,
So is there a way to like incorporate ball gowns, dresses or do they not wear dresses?
well, it's a spring fling and it is a semi-formal, so they
I
would
don't
be
even know what that means.
semi-formal. I would say like a shorter dress.
You know what I mean? Like
not
if
roll down,
there's,
but
if there's opportunity for younger or
Or
smaller
even
dresses.
dresses.
junior high dance, yeah.
Yeah. Or at least to let them know that that's available in the high school.
Yeah.
People don't find me as appealing in short dress. Josh might
I'll
be
be
the
there.
exception.
I'll be there.
Who runs the closet? Who could I email about that?
John Beckman.
Is that goes beyond formal wear, right? So,
Okay.
We have a lot of clothes that are available.
yeah, I think that's
New or,
maybe underutilized.
what do they call it?
Gently
Gently
used.
used. Yeah.
And even like personal care items, right, that are unopened. But only for high school students.
7-12. But I say that, if an elementary student came over
Like 5 or 6.
and needed it, I don't know if the elementary has something similar over there.
We used to get a lot of donations, or teachers or their families would bring in extra clothing and
Just leave them with the
shoes,
nurse.
and it's just there.
It does say we got a great community.
Yeah.
When we started, we got to work, we got so much stuff coming in, we had too much, we just couldn't take it all, so. We have a lot of folks.
One thing, my daughter had practice at the Appalachian Elementary last year, and they have a rack of every size sneakers in the gym, so that if you forget your shoes for gym, you just go grab the appropriate, anywhere for the half hour or whatever. But I thought that was a nice way to not have to like get the 0 for gym class because you forgot your sneakers.
But everyone gets the same foot fungus.
Yeah, I was saying that,
Your
just like the
socks.
yeah, like, they at least have the spray.
Yeah.
I like the positive outlook on that though. Not the footman.
One last question. I don't know if it's part of the planner facility. There's a big pothole. I just like hit it. Is that, will that be fixed?
Sissy goes also maybe a little bit. The short answer is yes, not fast enough, but it's
Okay. I've hit it myself, so I got it.
Excellent. Thanks all. I think we are out of business. Anyway. Adjourned. I know, even with all those things, we had to vote on.